Hey everyone, it's Justine and I'm going to be showing you how to create this cool card using multiple sets from Create a Smile stamps. Now to get started, I'm going to be using this new background stamp from Create a Smile called Color Me Polka, and I'm going to be inking this up using VersaFine Black Onyx ink. It's my favorite black ink to use because it's a really vibrant and crisp black, which I think you need for delicate patterns, but any black ink will suffice for this type of stamp. I'm really excited that Create a Smile has come out with some background stamps, and I absolutely love creating with them. So what I'm going to do is, instead of stamping my stamp onto my card, I'm going to stamp my card onto my stamp, if that makes sense. So I'm just going to put my card here down my card panel, and then I grab a piece of computer paper to protect my hands. I'm just going to run my hands along the background. I find this the easiest way to stamp large background stamps, rather than turning the stamp over and trying to stamp straight onto my card panel, which is smaller than my stamp. It's quite difficult to do. So now that I've taken this off, I have this really bold pattern onto my background, which is very vibrant and bold in itself. So I didn't want to create a pattern that was too complicated for my card. I'm going to be using the Time to Say Thanks stamp. It's another one of my favorites from Create a Smile, and I've used it in several videos before. And I'm going to be stamping this using Memento black ink because I'm going to be coloring with Copics. I'm stamping all three of these leaves, which I'm going to color and cut out. It's always easier to color and then cut out rather than cut out and then color, because you'll have more control over the paper what you're coloring on. So I'm just stamping those onto a scrap piece of Nina Solar white cardstock, and I'm going to be coloring those using a few different shades. Just going to zoom here on the images, and I'm going to be coloring using yellow, red, and green. And so to get started, I'm going to be using yellow. I'm using Y02, Y06, and Y15. When looking at my hex chart for Copic markers, these three blended really well together and were similar shades, just in different tones. So I started with my darkest color and worked my way to my lightest color, and vice versa. I essentially wanted to flick the light tones the dark tones upwards into the lighter tones and have the lighter tones extend to the top. So you can see here, I'm just going to color the lightest color on the leaf, and then I'm going to go in with a medium shade. And this one's, I'm using R05, R14, and R22. So this was R05, and then I'm going in with some R14, and I'm flicking that upwards towards the top, and then I'm going in with my darkest color, which is R22, and doing some smaller flicks upwards. I then calm everything down using the lightest shade. My intention here was not to have perfect coloring, but to also have some white marks showing. For this one here, I'm using YG03, YG05, and YG07, and in their respective order they go from light to dark. And I'm going in and creating some darker colors along the center of the leaf, as well as working my way out to the sides on this one instead of towards the top, because that is the way this leaf would work in natural light. My original plan was to use a lot of white space on these Copics, but then I decided to go back in with my lightest color and just finish blending out the inks and not add any white space at all. I think the bolder colors would look nicer against the black and white background without leaving any white space. So I changed my original plan in this sense, which I often do when I'm card making. The last thing I had to do was just go in with the green leaf and color the edge around it, and then I was all finished with my Copic coloring, and I was able to just cut them all out. I cut them out leaving a little bit of a white border, as well as you'll see when I put my card together. So now it's time to put all the pieces together of my card. So I grabbed a card base. It's a top folding card. It measures 11 by 4 1/4 when it's not folded, and it measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 when it is folded. I'm going to add my panel, which is 4 by 5 1/4 inches, so it leaves a nice white border around it. This is how I generally do all my cards. I like to leave that white border around them. It just makes the card look more complete, in my opinion. And then I just need to stick all of my embellishments together. So to get started doing that, I clustered my 3 leaves, and I arranged them in different ways before I decided on a final way to do it. So I did that off screen. There was nothing really particular about how I wanted them to look, but I wanted them to be just in a cluster overlapping each other. And it's okay that the bottoms don't look all that great right now, because I'm going to be covering it up using a die cut. So I die cut this hello out of black cardstock using My Favorite Things die. I thought by adding a stamp image of a sentiment, it might be a little bit too much. I might get lost in the background, so I thought this bold hello would really pull the card together and it wouldn't get lost in the busy background of this card. And the last thing I wanted to do is add just a little bit more of an embellishment. You can see here this is the hello die. I just wanted to show it on camera quickly. And then I added some silver foil tape. I got this one from Close to My Heart, but I'm sure it's available at most craft places, I would assume. It's nothing super fancy, but I do like the way it gives a little bit of a shine on the card, and it just finishes off that black detail and adds just a little extra something to the card, just something a little shiny. So that's the end of today's card tutorial. There wasn't a particular technique I wanted to feature today, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway. All the supplies used are listed below in the video description or on my blog. If you want to click here in the center of the video, you'll get to a playlist of Create a Smile Stamps videos where there's over 30 videos I've created using Create a Smile. You can click on the subscribe button to subscribe to my channel, or you can click up at the top to visit my blog. Thanks for watching.